Welcome, chosen one. There's a lesson the world keeps forgetting. You don't provoke a sleeping lion and expect to walk away unscathed. What they've done to you wasn't just reckless, it was self-destruction waiting to happen. Targeting someone chosen by God is like standing on the edge of an erupting volcano, daring it to consume everything in its path. They believed they were untouchable, that their actions would have no consequence. But their arrogance blinded them to a brutal truth whispered by history. No one who dares to harm God's chosen ever escapes unpunished. They ignited a fire they cannot control, a blaze fueled by envy, pride, and ignorance, a blaze that now threatens to consume everything they hold dear. Envy, when it takes the wheel, leads only to destruction. Yet, in their arrogance, they failed to consider the price of their actions. They thought their cruelty toward you would go unnoticed, that the torment they inflicted was theirs to control. But they were wrong. God saw it all, and His justice doesn't follow human rules. What began as a spark has become an inferno, not of human wrath, but of divine judgment. Prepare yourself, chosen one. This isn't just a tale of revenge. It's the unfolding of divine justice. Their actions didn't just awaken your spirit, they provoked something far greater. The ground beneath them is already cracking, the weight of their deeds too heavy to bear. They've awakened the fire of heaven, a force they cannot comprehend, let alone escape. They thought you were insignificant, a face in the crowd, someone they could mock, manipulate, or dismiss without consequence. But they were blind to the truth of who you are. You were not placed in their path by accident. Your presence was a test, a reflection, and a warning. Instead of honoring the gift of your existence, they trampled on it, driven by arrogance and ignorance. The word of God is clear: do not touch my anointed ones. But they ignored the warning, like sailors mocking the calm before a storm. They underestimated the magnitude of your calling and the force that shields you. Every cruel word, every calculated action was like throwing stones at a hornet's nest. They thought they could harm you and walk away unscathed, but now they're facing the swarm. Your silence wasn't weakness, it was power. Like a lion waiting to strike or a volcano gathering strength, your patience was the calm before the reckoning. They mistook your stillness for surrender, failing to realize that divine patience is the prelude to unstoppable power. Their actions weren't just personal, they were spiritual. By targeting you, they challenged forces far beyond their understanding. Like moths drawn to a flame, they moved toward destruction, unaware they were sealing their own fate. They thought they were extinguishing your light, but instead, they fueled a fire that will consume their illusions of control. You were never meant to be a victim. You were chosen as a vessel of God's purpose. Every stone they hurled at you, every attempt to tear you down, only built the foundation for your rise. Your light, once dimmed by their actions, has now grown brighter, sharper, and undeniable. Now, they stand in the shadows of their own making, bewildered by the strength they tried to suppress. They played with fire, and now they must face the flames of divine justice. This is your moment to rise, not despite their attacks, but because of them. The fire they lit will burn away their illusions and fortify your destiny. Some fires can't be controlled. Their downfall is no longer a question of if, but when. They underestimated you, and even more so, they underestimated the God who walks before you. They thought they could toy with you and emerge untouched, undefeated. Their arrogance acted as their armor, convincing them they were too clever for consequences and too powerful to ever stumble. But arrogance is a dangerous illusion. It blinds people to the unseen forces that govern this world. They mistook your silence for weakness and your patience for permission. Yet, the pride they wore so boldly has become the weight dragging them down. Arrogance blinds people to spiritual truths. They mocked the laws of balance, acting as though they could uproot what was divinely planted. But their actions didn't just harm you. They interfered with a sacred plan. They poked holes in a fabric they couldn't see, much less comprehend. To challenge someone chosen by God isn't just an insult to you. It's a direct challenge to the one who chose you. And here's the eternal truth. You don't win battles against God. In their pride, they refused to believe in what they couldn't see. They dismissed spiritual justice as a myth, acting as if they could scheme in darkness forever without light exposing them. Their lies and deceit seemed like a strong foundation, but now the cracks are spreading and their world is collapsing. They strutted boldly, convinced they had silenced, broken, and outsmarted you. But arrogance always roars loudest before the collapse. Now, they're caught in the trap they set for you. The fire they started is roaring out of control, and no desperate excuse or clever lie can save them. The very energy they sent to destroy you has turned back on them, magnified and relentless. God saw everything they did, every hidden scheme, every venomous word, every calculated betrayal. You didn't need to retaliate because divine justice works without your intervention. Now, they're scrambling as their carefully crafted illusions unravel before their eyes. Their greatest mistake wasn't underestimating you. It was underestimating the God who shields you. Pride may make them feel invincible, but it always ensures their fall. They thought they could break you. Their goal was clear: to see you crumble, to shatter your confidence, and to make you question your purpose. But in their arrogance, they underestimated the fire they were igniting. Instead of reducing you to ashes, it became the flame that forged you. The very pain they inflicted became the catalyst for your transformation. Their cruelty was the hammer, their betrayal the anvil. Yet, instead of breaking you, they created something indestructible. Like gold refined in fire, you emerged brighter, purer, and stronger. Every insult, every scheme, every setback wasn't a defeat. It was part of the process. The fire they lit didn't consume you. It burned away your fears and limitations. They thought they were snuffing out your light, but instead, they fanned the flames of your resilience. Their efforts to destroy you only pushed you closer to becoming unstoppable. What they intended for harm became the very force that propelled you toward your destiny. Rising from the ashes, the triumph of the chosen. Like a phoenix reborn from the ashes, you have become a living testament to the transformative power of faith and purpose. What was meant to harm you has instead become the foundation of your greatest triumph. Those who sought to bring you down now watch in stunned silence, witnessing a version of you they never imagined possible, stronger, wiser, and utterly untouchable. The fire they ignited, intended to be your undoing, has become the very flame lighting your path forward. What they saw as your defeat has turned into a victory they are powerless to stop. The lesson is undeniable. A chosen one doesn't burn, they rise. You are the living proof that no darkness can extinguish a flame ignited by divine purpose. Their actions, once thought hidden, are now the evidence of their own downfall. They believed their cruelty, betrayals, and lies would fade with time, unnoticed and forgotten. But they were gravely mistaken. Every word they spoke against you, every calculated act of harm, was not only seen but recorded. In the spiritual realm, nothing goes unnoticed, especially when the target is a chosen one. You don't walk this path alone. Your purpose carries a divine protection they couldn't comprehend. What they considered a private vendetta was, in truth, a challenge to something far greater than you. A challenge to the very plan God set in motion. Their actions weren't mere personal attacks. They became evidence in a spiritual court where every deed is measured, every betrayal exposed, and no act goes unaccounted for. Their whispered malice and schemes carried out in darkness rippled into realms they didn't even believe existed. They thought they were getting away with it, but in reality, they were adding weight to the scales of divine justice. Piece by piece, they built the case against themselves, blinded by arrogance to the truth. Nothing escapes the eyes of God. Now, the fruits of their deeds have begun to bloom, bitter and undeniable. They didn't just attack you, they attacked your calling, your purpose, and the divine hand guiding your life. That is a battle no human can win. Justice may not always be immediate, but for the chosen, it is inevitable. The very acts meant to crush you are now the proof of their own downfall, echoing louder than any excuse they could muster. What they thought was hidden has been exposed, and the undeniable evidence now demands consequences they cannot evade. To harm a chosen one is to sign your own judgment. Their mocking laughter was never truly about you. It was a reflection of their own shadows revealed by the light you carried. They couldn't grasp the favor upon you, the calm resilience you wore, or the divine purpose guiding your steps. Rather than seeking to understand, they chose to mock, for your presence unsettled something deep within them. People often attack what they fear, and they feared the power of your light. Their mockery was not a sign of your weakness, but of their inability to face their own truths. Yet, even their scorn has only strengthened the path you walk, and the light you carry now burns brighter than ever. The power of silence and the consequences of mocking the divine. Their laughter wasn't just mocking you, it was rejecting the divine energy that flows through you. This rejection carries a weight far heavier than they could ever comprehend. To mock the light is to resist the truth, and rebellion against truth always comes with consequences. The irony they never anticipated was that their cruelty didn't dim your light. It magnified it. While they worked tirelessly to tear you down, your spirit grew unshakable. As they mocked what they could not understand, your faith solidified and your purpose sharpened. Every attempt they made to diminish you only added fuel to the fire refining you. Now, as they stand in the shadow of your rise, the truth becomes undeniable. What they ridiculed was never weakness, it was unshakable favor. The very thing they tried to destroy has become the evidence of what they lacked: courage, faith, and divine protection. Their attempts to break you only highlighted a strength they could never understand. Now they face the painful reality that the light they mocked was always beyond their grasp. They mistook your silence for defeat, believing your quietness was proof they had broken you. To them, your lack of retaliation seemed like surrender, a white flag signaling their imagined victory. But they couldn't have been more wrong. Your silence wasn't a retreat, it was the calm before a storm they never saw coming. In their arrogance, they misunderstood the power of stillness. What they didn't realize is that not every battle requires hands or words to fight. For the chosen, silence is never weakness, it is strategy. While they schemed and plotted, you chose wisdom over impulse, restraint over retaliation. You stepped aside not out of fear, but out of trust in a force far greater than yourself. Divine justice is never rushed, but it never fails. Your silence wasn't empty, it was the loudest call for spiritual intervention. Every insult they hurled, every trap they set, every lie they spread, they thought these actions secured their victory. But in truth, they were digging their own grave. The fire they sparked, fueled by the very energy they unleashed to harm you, began to burn in their direction. As they reveled in their arrogance, something extraordinary happened. Your silence exposed them, stripping away their masks and revealing their malice, insecurities, and deceit for all to see. They believed you were too weak or too passive to notice, but you were watching, not with a desire to strike back, but with confidence that every action has its consequence. Now, the consequences are unfolding, and the truth they avoided can no longer be denied. What they mocked as your weakness has become their humiliation. Your silence, which they underestimated, has proven to be strength beyond their comprehension. By stepping back, you didn't lose. You handed the battle to a force that never fails, a justice that is always precise. Their greatest mistake wasn't underestimating your voice, it was underestimating your silence. In their arrogance, they also turned a blind eye to mercy's warnings. The signs were there, streaks of bad luck, dreams that unsettled them, and a quiet voice urging them to stop. These weren't coincidences. They were divine lifelines, invitations to turn back. But their pride drowned out the whispers of grace. Instead of pausing to reflect, they charged ahead, emboldened by their arrogance, blind to the storm they were creating. Mercy. Before judgment, the seed that rose to triumph. Mercy always precedes judgment, offering even those who inflict harm the chance to change. Moments of clarity appear, warnings whisper, and opportunities arise to turn back from destruction. These lifelines aren't meant to punish but to guide, to pull people away from the edge before it's too late. Yet pride, with its blinding grip, shuts hearts to reason. They ignored the cracks forming in their plans, mistaking the delay and consequences as permission to continue. What they failed to recognize was that every ignored warning brought them one step closer to their downfall. The whispers grew louder, the signs more obvious, but arrogance rendered them deaf. They doubled down on their path, blind to the fact that their own actions were fueling the fire that would eventually consume them. Now, as their world crumbles around them, all those dismissed moments flood back. The dreams they shrugged off, the misfortunes they laughed at, the inner voice they silenced. Those weren't mere coincidences. They were lifelines, chances to turn back. Yet pride blinded them to the mercy that could have saved them. Their downfall wasn't a sudden catastrophe. It was a slow, deliberate descent, guided by their refusal to listen. Pride, which once gave them false confidence, now leaves them defenseless against the consequences. The tragedy lies not just in their fall, but in how avoidable it could have been. Mercy knocked, but arrogance refused to open the door. They tried to bury you, but you were never meant to stay buried. They believed they could silence you, crush you, and erase the threat you posed by pushing you into the shadows. What they didn't realize was that burying you wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Like a seed planted in the soil, their attempts to cover you in darkness only set the stage for your growth. What they thought was your grave became your foundation. The very pressure they applied forced you to root yourself deeper, drawing strength from unseen places. Their attempts to break you nourished your soul like rain, and their efforts to silence you became the sunlight awakening your purpose. What they mistook for defeat was divine preparation. While they celebrated what they thought was your end, you were quietly transforming into something they couldn't stop. The darkness they thought would swallow you became the environment for your greatest transformation. They mistook your stillness for surrender, but like a seed bursting through the earth, your rise was inevitable. When you emerged stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable than ever, they were left stunned. You weren't just surviving, you were thriving, flourishing in ways they never imagined. Meanwhile, the weight of their actions began to bear down on them. The lies, schemes, and cruelty they sowed were now reaping their bitter harvest. The very thing they tried to bury became the truth that exposed them. As you rose, blossoming into your divine purpose, their downfall became clear. They thought they were covering you in defeat, but instead, they planted the seed of their own unraveling. What they intended to destroy has grown into something far greater than they ever imagined. You were never meant to stay buried. You were always destined to rise. Their attempts to orchestrate your demise became the very foundation of their own undoing. They failed to understand that when someone aligns with divine purpose, every attack only fuels their rise. Their schemes weren't merely aimed at you. They targeted the forces that guide and protect you, and that was their fatal mistake. Believing they were in control, they unknowingly wove the threads of their own downfall. The traps they set became prisons, and the lies they spread to harm you revealed their true intentions. Every move they made, like a boomerang, circled back faster and harder than they ever imagined. As they eagerly awaited your fall, they unknowingly built the stage for their own reckoning. What they designed to break you instead exposed their flaws, arrogance, and deceit. The harder they pushed to see you fail, the deeper they sank into the chaos of their own creation. Their confidence blinded them to the truth. They weren't orchestrating your defeat, but their own. What they thought would bury you became the ground from which you rose. Their relentless efforts to tarnish your name and strip you of your blessings have only hastened their own collapse. They thought they could take from you without consequence, but in trying to deny you, they denied themselves. Favor isn't stolen, it's earned, and theirs is slipping through their fingers. Socially, their masks have cracked, and alliances built on manipulation are crumbling. The people they once relied on are turning away as the truth catches up to them, exposing their flaws under the harsh glare of reality. Spiritually, their disconnection is complete. Every malicious act distanced them further from divine favor, leaving them lost in a wilderness of their own making, cut off from the grace they once ignored. Materially, the cracks in their foundation are evident. Wealth and stability gained through deceit are slipping away, while the blessings they tried to withhold from you are now flowing freely in your direction. The tables have turned, and where they falter, you rise. Your strength, patience, and alignment with divine purpose have opened the path to abundance. Their loss is not just a consequence, it's the proof of your unstoppable rise. But their gravest mistake wasn't just underestimating you, it was provoking the divine force that shields you. Every cruel word, every calculated betrayal was not just a challenge to you, but defiance against the Creator who governs your life. They thought they were dealing with an ordinary person, but in their arrogance, they failed to see that they were challenging divine purpose itself. Now, the very power they sought to undermine has turned against them, and their plans lie in ruins. Their downfall isn't just poetic justice, it's a testament to the unstoppable strength of a life aligned with purpose. You weren't meant to fall, you were always destined to rise. Their arrogance blinded them to the truth. You are chosen, marked by a divine favor they could never take away. Their actions weren't mere missteps, they were outright rebellion against something eternal and unshakable. Now, they are feeling the full weight of their choices. The universe never forgets, and justice may be patient, but it never delays forever. What they sowed in malice is returning to them with overwhelming force. They believed they could escape the consequences, but the wrath of a protective Creator is relentless. While you rise, surrounded by divine favor, they are left to face the destruction they unleashed. Their downfall isn't an accident. It's the inevitable result of challenging a power far beyond their understanding. The fire they lit with confidence, thinking it would consume you, has become the furnace that now engulfs them. Their lies, betrayals, and cruelty weren't enough to break you. Instead, they forged you into something stronger. They never anticipated that the flames they kindled in malice would grow beyond their control and turn against them. While they schemed to burn you down, their fire only served to strengthen your spirit. Chosen and divinely protected, you weren't destroyed, you were refined. Meanwhile, the inferno they unleashed has begun to devour their own lives. Relationships are crumbling, opportunities are slipping away, and their stability is turning to ash. What they thought would bring them victory is now consuming everything they once held dear. The harder they try to escape, the hotter the furnace becomes. Justice has turned their weapon against them, amplifying the harm they intended for you. They sought to destroy your peace, but now it's their happiness that is in flames. No matter where they turn, there is no refuge. The fire reflects their own darkness, and it will not relent. You, however, emerge unbroken, stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your purpose than ever before. While they grapple with the wreckage of their choices, you rise, unstoppable and blessed, walking away from the ashes they created. The universe has a flawless way of correcting injustices, ensuring that those who rise against the chosen face the consequences of their defiance. Their loss becomes your gain. The fire meant to destroy you has turned into their furnace of reckoning, while you stand as living proof that nothing can overcome someone who is chosen and divinely protected. Every challenge, betrayal, and attack has only added fuel to your rise. As they reap the consequences of their actions, you boldly step into the future that was always yours to claim. Keep rising, because your journey holds even greater triumphs ahead. If this message resonates with your spirit, know that you're exactly where you're meant to be. Don't let this momentum stop here. Stay connected to content that aligns with your purpose and keeps you unstoppable. Subscribe now, become part of a powerful community, and embrace the victories yet to come. Together, we walk this path stronger, wiser, and unapologetically chosen. Remember, the best is still unfolding. Stay aligned, stay blessed, and keep rising. The journey ahead is yours.